Welcome to Uncopyable Women in Business. I'm Kay Miller, also known as Muffler Mama. I've been the #1 salesperson in a male-dominated industry, a successful entrepreneur for over 30 years, and now my mission is to help you build a business and brand nobody else can compete with. If you're ready to break out of the pack and create your own uncopyable advantage, stay tuned. My guests and I are here to help. Calm. Thanks again and see you next time. Today's guest is Adrian Miller, an uncopyable force who spent over 3 decades as a powerhouse sales trainer and consultant before making a bold leap into full-time content creation. What started as a side hustle became a thriving business. She now helps others show up, sound like themselves, and stay consistent. Adrian, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I'm really happy to have you back. Maybe later in the show, I'll talk about what an angel you are and a lifesaver, that whole story. But we have talked before and we just had a blast, didn't we?
We did. Absolutely.
And one of my first questions to you before we get into your backstory is about AI and content creation. So I was thrilled to find out that you are really passionate about AI. You see so much potential. So do I. And as I pointed out in our earlier conversations, we're both boomers. A lot of boomers are afraid of AI. One thing I remember you kept saying is, I'm not afraid of AI. So why don't you fill in the blanks a little bit on your story and let's talk about how you see AI as a content creator.
Thank you. So I think I'm not really an early adopter, the earliest of people who were using AI, but I've been using it for longer than a whole lot of people that I know. And I always saw it, and even see it more so now, as a tool, as something that I can work in my favor. I don't see it as replacing me. I never did. And yet a lot of people, when chatting with me and they ask what I do, and I go, oh, I write content, or I'm a writer. I think because I'm a boomer, the word content, I don't know. I write words. I'm a writer. They say, are you worried about your business? And I go, no, I'm not worried about my business. I'm excited and ecstatic because now I have a great editor. I have a great editor who works 24/7 in my office. I don't have to pay for overtime. I can tell them I don't like their edits, and could they do it again, and they don't throw a hissy fit. They don't demonstrate creative genius for me and tell me I'm wrong, but they'll work with me until I see what I wrote as better than when I originally wrote it, but it still has captured my voice, or even more importantly here, the voice of my clients, because we all sound different. They all don't sound like me. A few of them do, and I have to admit, they're the easiest people for me to write to or write for. Super easy. But there are people who are much different. They're in professions that they couldn't be quite as casual as I might be, quite as inappropriate as I might be. And I can write for them too. And I can even tell AI that it shouldn't use my tone, but this is what I'm going for. And it's not going from nothing. They have the content. I never have them write something from scratch and then press send and give it to a client or post it. I may have them write it and I'll rewrite it. Or I more often will give them the prompts that very much include key paragraphs, words, phrases, direction, flow chart, and then say, what do you got? And then we'll do it again. And only then can it really be something I'd consider using out there in the real world. And if anyone thinks that you can just give it 2 sentences, get an answer, and just press post, is going to go out of business. They're going to get mocked because it's going to scream AI. And I don't really take that as a curse word. that people say, I could tell it's AI. It's nutty already. But I know people who post something and say created by AI.
Just full transparency, right?
Or not created by AI. So I think we're seeing more and more of that. I'm seeing it on LinkedIn. I know I have used some visuals, some illustrations. I mostly use my own photographs for inclusion with certainly my posts for me, my blogs for me, even for some clients who have asked me, can we use one of your photographs? Because I like to take photographs and I'm fairly decent at it. But I've asked AI to do it and they've come up with some great things, better than I could in terms of verbiage, like quotes that are my words, but put into a plaque or something like that. And it saves time. I could go to Canva and do it. But do I really want to? Should I even be paying for Canva anymore? I don't know.
I don't know. And you listening might not recognize a lot of these terms, depending on what you are doing, your sales, or you're a business owner, entrepreneur, who knows? But Canva might be a tool that you use or not. For those it's right for, it's been incredible. But like you say, Adrian, I don't know what's coming down the pike and what will still be around and what will be obsolete. We don't know that. I would love to talk a little bit more. We breezed through the word prompt. I'm guessing if you don't know what that word is, you need to. So talk a little bit more. What is a prompt? I'm going into ChatGPT and you're saying create content. What if I want to create a newsletter or write a better email or whatever? So what do we do when we get into AI and talk about this prompt?
Okay. Let's say you write an article or an email and there are different things you want to come across or have come across better than what you are reading that you put out there. So you would copy and paste that into chat. And then you could, if you weren't going to prompt it, direct it, guide it appropriately, you might say, rewrite. That's telling it nothing. Think about the instruction you'd give me, your writer. I'm your ChatGPT writer. And you'd say, rewrite. And I'd say, how would you like me to rewrite it? Do you want this to be casual? Do you want this to be professional? Do you want me to use slang? Do you want me to use proper English? Do you want me to be addressing a specific cohort? Is this going out to the general world? Do you want it to persuade people to do things? Do you want to look emotional? Do you want to look vulnerable? Do you want to look strong and powerful? Do you want it to be very short, or do you want it to be at least 600 to 800 words? You have to tell it what to do. You have to tell me. So I think that's I never thought of that before. Think of your friend, think of me as your human ChatGPT. I won't sit there for 24/7, and I'm definitely not going to work for $20 a month, which is what I pay ChatGPT. However, I would be asking you those questions. You would, because I'm a human, probably give me that information. Why would you think chat would know how to rewrite it without prompting them with the appropriate questions and information? Write this email as a very angry tenant who is incredibly angry at their landlord for not fixing the heat at the time they said they were going to have it fixed. You, in fact, are the tenant, and you invited your grandchild to sleep over. So you now have a 3-year-old freezing in your 58-degree apartment. Be polite, but be very stern. And don't threaten, but imply that, in fact, you can contact the housing authority because this is a breach of lease. Now, chat has something to work with, and it will come pretty much perfect. With that prompt, which took me, I'm just spitballing here. So what did it take me? 20 seconds, 30 seconds? A little bit more decisive. You can get back the email that you probably would have had a struggle over for a while in 30 seconds, maybe less.
It's just a game changer. It blows my mind. And I like all the things that you mentioned in the prompt. I do a lot of writing and rewriting. You can brain dump, I think is what you said yesterday. Brain dump into AI. You don't have to worry about your grammar, spelling, anything. You just put all those things that you mentioned. And then, yes, you say, okay, I wanted this in whatever tone. I usually say casual, friendly, a little bit of humor, but not too much, not too cute. Please don't use these words like crushed it. That will let people know it's AI. But then what you do is you put that in and you get the result, right? And then you evaluate that result. And it's, what do you do then? You just tweak it, right?
So you either tweak it or it miss the mark. The more you use it, the more you train it, the more it doesn't miss the mark. You also, and I have not done this in the paid version of chat, you can give them some commands about things they should never include in anything, like crushed it, like truly, like certain words that we don't usually use. Although I must say I used crushed it before. Now I'm scared to use it. Yeah, there's certain things that, wow, I said that before anyone used chat. But you have to give it the information. So I think it helps people who are new at it to realize that you think of it as a human, that you're giving a human employee a task to do. Now, we all know the very worst bosses or managers didn't give good instructions. And at some point in people's careers, you can think back to when somebody handed you back something or sent it back to you on the computer with disgust. This is wrong, giving it all sorts of negative commentary. And you send back, you did not give me any instruction, and I tried my best to think about how you wanted to say this. Honestly, you should have earlier on said, I can't write this. I can write it like me, but I may not be able to write it like me the way you want to see it. Please give me some instruction. That's what you're talking to. It's what you're talking to.
And I like the fact it's really forcing you to articulate your thoughts, right? You've got to make chat understand. GPT is so positive. Okay, that's a great idea. Great observation. Very supportive. A cheerleader. We joked yesterday that I say there's no such thing as a dumb question. For chat GPT, that really is true. So you can ask it anything. You don't have to worry about making it perfect. But yeah, then chat gives you a result. Work on it, massage it, and then you just have so much potential to generate content. I mentioned yesterday that I have a newsletter, which I would not have had without AI. So based on our podcast interview, more of a conversation with Adrian, I will put that transcript into ChatGPT, and I have a standard prompt called a custom GPT that tells it all those things and creates a newsletter. Sometimes it doesn't get it right. And I'll say things like, are you even listening? Oh, sorry, here, let's give it another try. It really does make you feel like you're dealing with a human, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I had it create a visual a few months ago, and it never got it right. It actually never got it right, and I stopped. And it made me feel bad because it tried so hard.
I know. I'm so sorry you didn't nail it.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. And I kept looking at how I described it. And it was, if you're ambiguous, okay, it's the same thing. I also think about it like if you're talking to a child, ambiguity when you're directing a small person to do something, a young person to do something often doesn't end well. And I was looking at my directions. It wasn't ambiguous. I don't know. I didn't think it was that complicated, but it was humorous. And then I decided to just cut my losses and come up with another visual because I wasn't going to be able to do it myself using any other tool. I know my own limitations, and ChatGPT has tremendously widened them, but there are certain things that I know that I'll have to figure out a workaround. Sometimes when I have to do something, even in my own website, and my webmaster isn't available, but I need to have it done immediately, I can't do what they do, but I can come up with a workaround. And it's not as good, but that's fine because I don't perceive myself as like a surgeon holding a scalpel, making that first cut. You really want it to be good, and I'm not doing that. I don't have the blade against your skin. And so half the time we are so critical of ourselves. I had to learn that with posting on LinkedIn, that how many times can you reread it? And do you realize that people often don't get past the third sentence anyway? Give it up. This is not life-changing, and move on, and just move on.
I think it's so refreshing. And I think I do this, but on some level, and I think you listening might not. It's refreshing to hear a content creator praising AI, because it seems like it is in competition with what you're doing, and yet you're using it as a tool. And one of the phrases I love is that you aren't going to lose your business to AI. You'll lose your business to someone or a business using AI. So why would you put your head in the sand and not take advantage of this amazing tool? And I shouldn't belabor this, but we are not spring chickens. And so I do, and I know, Adrian, you do too, run across a lot of clients and our network that doesn't want to know. Oh, I don't even want to know about AI. It's too hard. It's too complicated. And we're here to say, no, that's not.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a techie in any way, shape, or form. So I usually say, if I can feel very comfortable using it, just the technology now, I feel just some of the questions I ask or prompts I give AI may not be second nature for some people. And that may mean also they're not writers. I think the people who are going to use AI the best are the writers, are the marketers, are the people who think that way. Okay. I write for people mostly who just don't like doing it, don't feel they're good at it, and frankly, often are not. Or they really are great at it, but it takes so much time away from other things. The people who use AI most effectively are good at writing. They're the ones who have taken it. And it's like editors. The best editors are working with some of the best writers. Okay, it's very hard to get a horrible manuscript and have to start editing it. Because I've written some books, not with AI. They were pre-AI. There you go. I wrote books before AI. Honestly, I don't even know. I guess it existed, but not in my world. And the editors always said to me, it's a pleasure working with you because editing is fun. It's not, I don't have to rip things apart. I can just ask you a question about a paragraph and you'll come back and it'll be absolutely perfect with that question. Small things. And sometimes when you get your editor's comments, they're so voluminous. It's almost like writing a whole new book. At least I hear that from people. And I've never thought that. When I send it to the editor, I know the book is going to be finished pretty soon because they don't have to spend the next year rewriting it. I'm not asking them to ghostwrite my book. I've had people ask me to ghostwrite their book. I never want to ever do that. Ever. It's so time consuming. And it's not fun. I like fun now.
You want to work on your own stuff, not someone else's stuff. Your stuff is fun. I know that. I
started writing a book about writing content. It's sitting in my computer. Here's the thing. I finished a book called Sell Baby Sell. And it's got a great cover of me in Japan standing behind a sign. I don't know what it says. So I tried to get it translated and I couldn't. So maybe it's just letters. Anyway, this was written about a year ago, when I had my sales consulting and training company. And guess what? I don't do that anymore. I just don't do that anymore. I don't want a new book. I already put a deposit in with the publisher and everything else.
Totally.
I don't care. I think it would be very destructive for me, who has come out with all these posts and emails about me pivoting my career, using an overused word, pivoting my career like I climbed Everest or something. And all of a sudden now there's a book with me on sales. I don't know. I feel like I'd be undermining my own progression in content as a business.
Really?
I talked to the publisher and she felt really bad. She likes the book. She came up with a cover, blah, 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 blah. But she said, I think I can combine the two. I said, no, you can't. Don't think I can. I can give it a paragraph in the content book or a chapter but not a whole book in the content book. So that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Things change very fast.
And what?
Things change very fast. And I wrote that book without ChatGPT. I think that book I wrote over time because, and you've written books, because it just kept going. And it was my business for 3 decades. So I had a lot to tell.
I know I respect what you say, since I am in sales and marketing, and I have 2 books, Uncopyable Sales Secrets. Then I also co-wrote Uncopyable You, which is a branding. So yes, this was pre-AI too, and it is a whole new world. But I do see AI as such a strong tool for people in sales and marketing. So I actually do combine those in a lot of my work, because if you aren't using AI, it's silly isn't a strong enough word, but people that are running their businesses are just too busy to take on one more thing. I do like your point about if you are a writer, which you are more able to evaluate that content. So someone still does need you, because if you're not a writer, then you don't know if what AI is providing is that good. So I think, yes, you've always got to take what AI gives with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I think the secret sauce also, it may not, no, it should be for everybody, actually. I was going to say, but not for everybody, is because I had so much time in sales, and because it was in sales, and sales and marketing really go like this, come on, that now writing content, I said yesterday, I see everything through a sales lens, not I'm going to hammer you and pitch you, and I'm not doing that, but I'm always going to ask how you're going to use this content. What's your goal for the content? What's your purpose, etc. And once I know that, then I'm very able to see how I can contribute to your rent stream by the words I say. I think people who have really not thought about sales and marketing so much, and your point yesterday when someone says, oh, I'm not in sales, it's, oh, yes, you are.
Everything is sales. If you have a business and you don't have customers paying for your product or service, you have a hobby. That's what I've heard.
If you don't, absolutely. If you're not getting paid for what you provide, it is a hobby. I have to tell you, and I think I said this with my own kids, but having grandchildren are do-overs, because when you have your own kids, typically you're in the throes of growing your career and much more is at stake. But grandchildren, you get to give back. And it's amazing how fabulous they are at sales. It's just amazing. Their ability to negotiate, their ability to step down, okay, to show the benefit of what they want to do so that you see it in a very positive light. I have a 2-year-old grandchild who, when they want to have an ice pop, first thing in the morning, it's 8:30, and I'll say, no, you have to have breakfast first, real breakfast, healthy food first. And they will say, but this will make me eat less food and it won't take as much time. And I immediately go, oh, yeah, you're right. Have an ice pop. Then we don't.
Oh, my gosh.
No, it's amazing. And they're determined to get what they want. And yeah, some of them do it in a very naggy way, but some salespeople do it in a very naggy way also. But some kids are very sophisticated about how they go about asking you for the same thing 5, 10 times, but always modifying it a little bit. So you're starting to rethink it. If they were only a little bit more articulate and really could communicate with adults better, they could be the best sales trainers, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I watched it. I have 3. And all 3 of them have it, just like all salespeople come at things differently, have their own ways of doing it. One will definitely, she's going to own a company and be able to be the chief salesperson also, because that's all she does. She's a constant communicator.
Having an ice pop, popsicle, whatever you call it, before breakfast, what a great example of selling someone on what you want, but you show it in a way that they see the benefit, right? It's not just, here's what I want. Oh, here's what's going to help you. Then I will be gone as hungry or eat more food, whatever it was. And so selling, if you look at it like that, I know so many people don't like sales. They don't want to be in sales. And yet sales is life. And you reminded me of an example that I haven't thought of for a long time. But when our daughter, Kelly, turned 16, she came out into the family room and she gave us a PowerPoint on why she should get her own car. So she has this elaborate PowerPoint, and her message was, this will save you so much time. You won't have to drive me to school. You won't have to drive me to my sports. You need me to run to the store? I'll have my own car to do that. So you're reminding me of those natural skills, negotiation, and let's show you the benefit. So I love that we touched on that.
You said it yesterday, and it just got validated even more. Sales is, and this is why I think people who say, I'm not a salesperson, that it's a win-win. Sales doesn't mean you're selling the cliche of ice to Eskimos or something like that, okay? It's not like you're pushing some scam on some unsuspecting buyer. If you have pride and confidence in your product or service, and that your product or service will equal an improvement in your prospect's existence, personal or business, and you can talk about that improvement, then it's a win for them and a win for you. And there you go. That's a positive world. That's what we should be doing. It's actually a service. If you have a product that improves something for someone and they don't either know about it or they haven't been given the time and bandwidth to consider it, that's a service.
So this is service and helping. I mentioned yesterday, we're going to explain what we mean by talking yesterday in a minute. But I mentioned my favorite Henry Ford quote, and that is, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. People don't know. Your customers don't know what really will benefit the most. So say they think they want something, and you say, you know what would even be better in my estimation and my knowledge of the market and other customers, whatever. And you present a solution to them. They're like, oh my gosh, I want that. So I have to also say, Adrian, can you see the first chapter of my book? Win-win.
Yes.
So
yes.
I totally agree. Someone doesn't want to be sold to. They want to be given the information to help them buy and see the win in it for them. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk. I think we talked about this a few minutes yesterday, of specific things that people can use AI for. Do we talk about some examples that I mentioned? The newsletter.
Oh, and every day it's more.
What's that?
I said every day it's more. So it's almost as if you can imagine it, you can ask Chad about it. Seriously, I don't think I've even touched 0.01% of what it can do. But I mean, everything from your emails, your social media, your blogs, your newsletters, your courses, your social media, break up with a lover, write to your best friend, a condolence note that you just don't even know how to craft. And then, as I did talk about yesterday, I travel a lot. And there are some places I do know very well. But I asked ChatGPT to give me 10 streets in Paris that have iconic architecture and just iconic winning photographs. Okay. Be able to give me something to photograph that people are going to, it's not the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. You said undiscovered
gardens, streets. And it was fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I asked it for cocktail bars that were off the grid and just does a lot of things. I don't want it to show up. I'm not casting aspersions on TripAdvisor or Yelp or anything like that. They have their place. But I wanted it to be things that weren't showing up on that. Hence, there would be less tourists, perhaps, or a lot of tourists, but people who had dug a little further to get there. And so use it for that. Use it for itineraries. I was in Southeast Asia. I asked it for a 6-day itinerary for Singapore for sophisticated travelers. And this was the curveball I threw it into that one, including one part of the couple who has been in Singapore 45 times. What? Because that was my husband. And yes, he went back with me. And there were some things he knew he was going to see again, but I was really determined to take him to some places and to go to some things he hadn't seen. So yes, it was very helpful there. It's wonderful. It's just wonderful. So if your imagination could think it, you can ask it. My son had Chat come up with suggestions for salads that had 5 or less ingredients for a family dinner that I participated in. He needed to make 2 salads, and I gave him 10 suggestions. He told them the ingredients he had in the house because he didn't want to have time to go out to a supermarket. I got to tell you, those were awesome ingredients.
Presto.
5
Voila.
5 games you can do with your toddler, your middle school kid, etc., that, won't have them rolling their eyes, and you both have fun. See what it comes up with.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, the sky is the limit.
And I hope you stay tuned for the bonus episode, because Adrian has been, just an example, to Paris 20 times. I am so jealous. So I'm going to tell you, full disclosure, transparency, as they say, why we keep referring to yesterday. Adrian and I recorded an awesome interview yesterday. I was so excited about it. And then I listened back and the audio was crap. I have a clean podcast, but I think I can say crap. And I was so bummed out. And I woke up in the middle of the night to feel, before I went to bed, I emailed you. I'm in a pickle. I'm heartbroken. Would you by chance be willing to do this tomorrow? And that's when I got the email in the middle of the night. Yes, I will do it. You are an angel. Thank you so much. As far as all those things that you can research, I have heard dinner is the most popular question, but researching your client. And I think I mentioned yesterday that now when I have a podcast guest coming up like you, I just go into chat and say, tell me about Adrian Miller of WordsWork. And I instantly have your bio, your history, a video clip. I figured out how to spell or pronounce people's names because I hear them. All of this can be done with AI. And you've been a sales trainer for years, but can you imagine how different that would have been if you had that all those years?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Talk about dinosaur when you couldn't just sit on your computer and get all this information. I used to go to a library. I used to sit in a library with big directories to build lists, and there were list brokers and all that, but so much stuff that even without chat didn't exist. And now with chat, there's freaking no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse. It is an amazing time saver. You are not cheating. You are going to use it as a tool. I use the example of computer-aided design. Back in the day, architects did not have that. My husband was one of them. He had a drawing board. He had his T-square, and he can draw blueprints with the best of them. And we have drawers and drawers of blueprints that he did for global companies without using computer-aided design and the tissue paper and the whole bit. And then CAD came out. Did architects go away, or they don't exist anymore? Of course not. Of course not. They had, the good ones figured out how to use that tool, and their buildings became more complex and even better. So any major architect, Frank Gehry, who's in his 80s and is still designing iconic buildings, was way before there was CAD. And I'm sure he uses it now. Okay, so.
Good. I hope so. And yesterday you kept saying, I'm not afraid of AI. I'm not afraid of AI. And you emphasize that because I feel like it's true for a lot of people. So that's going to change. AI is going to morph. There will be more options. But why not get in on the ground floor? In Uncopyable, we constantly talk about what is your uncopyable advantage. Anytime you have a chance to create one, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I haven't done this prompt yet, but I hear some people are using AI for creation of side hustles. whether they're a little bit nervous about their job right now. It's a very awkward time in our country. Not meaning to get political. It doesn't matter what side you're on, but it's an awkward time in our country. People are losing jobs that they never thought they would lose because they were in institutions that we didn't think would have that happen. And so in advance of that, people are saying, I should have something a little bit on the side that I can do when I'm still working, because hopefully that won't go away. And they're coming up with all sorts of things. I haven't done that. I don't know if I'm looking for that, but I might do it just to see what it comes up with. All sorts of digital things. And someone I know said they're going to design a course and sell it. They're not in this business. And I think Chad, to be brutally honest, made it sound way easier than it is, because we know how.
Yes, you could. Oh, that's all it is. You're right. Again, Chad is idealistic, I think, in many ways. Every time I say I have this idea, oh, that's great. So yes. I will say, okay, what are the downsides, etc. There's just a lot to it. And we are coming to the end of our time, which I am disappointed about, even though I got to talk to you yesterday. You've got to tune into the bonus episode. We're going to record that next. And now I have a jump on asking Adrian some of the questions that fascinating answers, fun to hear about all your travel. I will put all the links in the show notes to contact Adrian via LinkedIn, your website, anything else any other resources that you have, they'll all be in the show notes. Adrian, I owe you one. I do. I am so grateful that you did this for me and the listeners. The listeners are too. So anyway, I will say on that note, Adrian, you're wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncopyable Women in Business. Please subscribe, share, rate, and review the show. Thanks again, and see you next time.